So this problem says two cyclists leave the same place going in the same direction. One cyclist travels 30 miles per hour and the second travels 35 miles per hour. If the second cyclist starts 2 hours later than the first, in how many hours will the second overtake the first? Okay, so when we have a problem that deals with how fast something is traveling and the amount of time it takes, we're usually going to use a formula that's distance is equal to rate times time. And when you have two different objects moving, we're probably going to use this equation twice. But the question is asking us, in how many hours will the second overtake the first? So if the first cyclist starts and is moving, the time that let me go back. If the first cyclist starts, when the second cyclist overtakes it will be where they have traveled the same distance. So we're saying that the distance that the first cyclist travels is equal to the distance that the second cyclist has traveled. So I'm going to set those two distances equal to each other. And we also know that since distance is equal to rate times time, we can say that we can basically substitute that the distance of the first cyclist is equal to the rate of the first cyclist times the time of the first cyclist. So I'll substitute that for the D1 is the rate of the first cyclist times the time of the first cyclist. And similarly, we can do the same thing for the second cyclist, that the distance of the second cyclist is equal to the rate of the second cyclist times the time of the second cyclist. So I'll substitute D2 is the rate of the second cyclist times the time of the second cyclist. Because we don't have any information here about how far either one of them is traveling, so that's why I substituted information about the rate and the time. We know that the first cyclist is traveling 30 miles per hour, so that gives us its rate. So I'll substitute 30 for rate 1. And the time of the first cyclist, we don't know how long that's going to be, so I'm just going to leave that as T for now. And that the question is asking us in how many hours will the second overtake the first. So the question is asking us a question about time. So that's going to be my variable. Now, to substitute for R2, we have that the second cyclist is traveling 35 miles per hour. So I'm going to substitute 35 for R2, because that's how fast the rate 2 is how fast the second cyclist is traveling. And for time 2, it tells us that the second cyclist starts 2 hours later than the first. So whatever time that the first cyclist traveled, which we represented as T, we can subtract 2 from that, and that will give us the amount of time that the second cyclist has traveled, since they started 2 hours later. Okay, so now that we've set up our equation, we can solve. 30 times T is 30T. And distributing the 35 into the second parentheses, we get 35 times T is 35T. And then 35 times negative 2 is negative 70. I'll then combine my two T terms by subtracting 35T on both sides. And that gives me 30 minus 35 is negative 5. So negative 5T is equal to negative 70. And then to finish solving for T, I need to get rid of this negative 5 that's multiplied by the T. So I divide it on both sides, since multiplying and dividing are inverse operations. And that gives me T is equal to 70 divided by 5 is 14. So that would be From the time that the first cyclist starts to travel, it would be 14 hours after the first cyclist starts to travel. Let me write that as hours, because I know that unit because my rate is in miles per hour. So that means my time would have to be in hours. Now, the question isn't super clear about whether it's asking from the time after the first cyclist starts or the time after the second cyclist starts. So I'm assuming that it's asking like the time from the start of the problem, which would be like when the first cyclist starts traveling. So that would be 14 hours. So a really long, a really long bike ride before the second cyclist would catch up to the first. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please like the video and share with anybody you think might find these types of videos helpful. Also, subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more of these types of videos, and click the notification bell and choose all if you'd like to have notifications when I make new videos, or choose off if you don't want to see notifications. Some people don't like notifications. Thanks for watching.